Okay, we're back
Okay,
from
give
break.
me 1 second. It's still loading.
Oh,
I know, me too. Okay, we're good.
all right, now we're back on the clock, so we'll resume with Mike and Kyle, and we'll get them wrapped up, and then we've got Lita coming up next.
The last thing we want to talk about was we're halfway through our policy term, but have already started working on next year's your renewal term. Your work comp renews at a different time, and Kyle if he wants to just chat a little bit about what our plans are for your work comp renewal.
The work comp?
Yes.
Yeah. So that's a January 1st renewal, whereas the package is late February. So we've already approached, like Mike said, we have the two best markets we have access to. We've been with IPEP now for quite a while. There's another one by the name of Argent that we've began to reach out to and had a good conversation with. So we'll be, with our recommendation or our intention would be to approach Argent and start having that conversation with them here sooner than later. Normally 120 days out is when you can start having more meaningful conversation with these underwriters, which is just right around the corner for us. So we'll be having that here towards the end of the month.
So, I think the thing that IPEP has the ability to do, they have a great safety program, safety team. So I think that's I've always felt there's three things you buy insurance for. It's coverage, cost, and counsel. And so I think, from our perspective, when work comp is statutory, so there's not a lot of difference.
Cut clarity and carrot weight.
That might be your wife's.
Oh, okay. All right.
The things that are important.
I'm sorry, keep going.
So, but I think the thing that when we consider, especially on the comp side of it, is the counsel that they can help us with, is who will help us. And I think both of these companies are strong on that. The second thing that we're talking about, I think that, I've looked at your package premiums if you go back if you spin the clock back 10 years ago, I suspect our net cost of insurance hasn't changed more than 5% in the last 10 years. But the challenge is we have a lot more of everything that we have. We have more property limits because we raise the values of property every year. We have more vehicles insured than we used to have. We have more expensive equipment than we used to have. Mm-hmm. So your net, if you take it down to a net rate, we're probably within 5 to 8% of what we have been for the last 10 years. So I know we've talked about it earlier in the spring about looking at other options. We moved to Liberty 2 years ago, and one of the things that Liberty did for us is we had to have a separate policy for the Change Academy, and they're willing to include it for the school leaders' exposure that you would have. They've included that. So I think that typically, and again, we'll do whatever you want to do, because I know we did talk about it in general. We've looked at other markets every 3 to 5 years, but typically 3 is what we always would recommend. And we're done with our second year. We're in our second year with Liberty. My understanding is that you'd like us to look at other markets this year, or do you want to say, let's wait for one more year to look at another market? Because it takes time. It's going to take Susan or her team time. It takes all of your department heads time, because there's we're going to need some of your time for applications and things like that. We do look at other markets. Happy to do it. It's easy for us to do. It's what we do every day, but the sensitivity of your time. And one of the other things that I would also, through caution, is if you go to market too often, companies don't take you seriously. If you quote your coverage, every 1 or 2 years, we have insureds want us, and then they said, why would I quote again? I never write that coverage. So
that's always the danger of going too frequently.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we'll do whatever you want to do. Happy to do whatever you want to do. So I guess we're hoping for some instruction from you on that.
This is our second year with Liberty.
We're in the second year, yes.
My thought would be to go out another year.
I'm sorry?
My thought would be to go out another year. 3s are pretty good.
Are we looking at any substantial increases, do you foresee going forward with Liberty?
I think that that's something that this is why we're having this meeting today, is if we can go to Liberty and say, guys, if you can give us probably 3%, 3 to 5% is a reasonable renewal anymore, because of one of the things, building costs are going up. So, well, if we had a $100,000 property claim 3 years ago, it's going to be a $125,000 property claim because the building costs have gone up about. If we've had, and Todd probably could address this better than I can, but if we'd had a $10,000 automobile claim from physical damage to the auto 3 years ago, it's probably more like a $12,000 claim today. Is that fair?
$3,000 headlights in them, so.
Yes.
So those costs are going up. So I think that again, it's the inflationary world. I think that if we could maybe talk with Liberty, and if you want to go the route and say, guys, if you can give us a 3 to 5% increase, we're probably not going to shop it this year. If you're not going to give us a 3 to 5% increase or less, actually we'll start at 3, or actually we'll start it as flat. If we can have a flat renewal this year, we're not going to shop it for.
Start them with a decrease.
That might be a little bit tough.
People do it to me all the time. I don't know. I'm kind of leaning that way to prime the pump a little and just say, hey, guys, you can be reasonable with us. We got a good relationship. If not, we're going to shop it, but we'd like to stick with you. Because it does cause some problem for us to renew. The auditor's got to dig up all sorts of information. We got to update I just assume go another year if it's not over the top on the renewal.
Does that lock us in altogether as far as other quotes?
That would be our intent, that, if we're going to do that, that you're not, because if you want other people to quote it, then we're going to go out and we'll want to get other quotes as well, to see what the market is. So, but again, and typically what the commissioners have done for us in the past is when we go out and shop at the market, they've given us opportunity. There's probably 20 companies that can write municipalities. There's 5 or 6 that we use, and you guys in the past have allowed us to have those 5 or 6 that we use. And then there's other companies that they can use as well.
I just want to make sure we're flexible as far as going forward.
I just know we're in a hard insurance market. It's a hard insurance market I haven't seen before. Completely different how they were in the past. And I think the time to beat up on a company per se is when business is bad, not when it's good. Our worst customers that beat us up, I just write them off. I just say, kind of like you said, if they're going to beat us up, we don't want them as a customer because the margins are so thin anymore that we have to concentrate on the good customers. And I would like to be a good customer for an insurance company, but then again, I don't want to pay too much through the county. It's a balancing act there. So
We have good service, both from the carrier and from you folks on the CPP. And, reasonable rates. Our claims experience is good, so we're dealing with from a position of strength. So I really don't. It's unlikely to get another quote just for the sake of having a quote. I don't think is productive at this point.
yeah, I think we have bigger problems to attend to than
If we're gonna dig into insurance.
I think, in my opinion, is next year would be the time to re-quote it and maybe bring in others if that's your choice to.
Does that lock out any other quotes from any other agents?
Well, I don't know if it does or not. I just don't see any reason, in my opinion, to change.
I don't know why we'd want any other quotes this year on it.
We told him last year that he'd be able to quote this year.
Who was that?
Jim.
Oh, okay, I forgot about that. I tell you, my memory's not very good.
And in all fairness,
Yeah.
Yeah, we did say that.
Well, if you're gonna let somebody else in, then we've got to let,
We got to let insurance trustees
Mike
quote it.
go and do your thing
Yeah, I didn't even
there.
think of that.
Yeah.
Forgot
Yeah,
about Tim.
I'd forgotten about that too.
So again, as we've done in the past, are you willing to we'll have 5 or 6 markets that we'll use on this. Can we send you the list of the companies that we'll be using? That way there won't be a conflict. And typically what we'll give you is a sample agent of record. So that says we're assigning these companies to insurance trustees. You can have anybody else. Are you guys comfortable with that?
Need to understand that more.
That's so you don't have two agents quoting the same company.
Companies will only allow one agent to quote.
Right.
So,
Which I don't quite understand that. And, car dealers can quote whatever price they want on the car, yet they both pay the same amount from the manufacturer. So I don't understand why, they do that in airplane insurance too, and I don't understand that deal. Can you explain to me why, is that a law, or is that a unwritten rule?
it's an industry that, we have some, very few, I would say less than 1 or 2% of companies. If they had 10 agents send an application, they'll give all 10 agents the same quote.
Okay.
And they, by contract, they won't give a different, that's not true by contract. They won't give different quotes out. They'll give everybody the same quote. So, it's just,
Okay, well, let me back up and ask the question, because this Bill's concerned about this, and I need to know it too. Years ago, you of course have handled my insurance for 40 years. Years ago, my friend Howard owns Howard Insurance AG, wanted to quote us through Motorist. And you said, Todd, go ahead and let him, but it won't work. I said, why? Well, because we get a pretty good discount through Motorist, and I give all of it back to you. Because you write so much business through Motorist, he won't. And he quoted us like 40 grand, and you were at 23,000. I said, Mike, you're right. And you said, I told you so. So with that said, if you quote through whatever company, and they say, hey, that policy's 212 grand, do you have the ability, but Mike, your real cost is 180 on this, so we're giving you the flexibility to charge them whatever you want. Do you have that ability to give us a discount like you did through Motorist when we were with them?
well, I think that, and I don't, because Motorist was a company that will only quote one company, only agents. So I think they probably quoted somebody besides Motorist.
No, they quoted Motorist. I got it on the paperwork from I still have it if you want to see it.
Yeah, because we insured you, so I don't know how they could have done that.
You had me sign something, as a matter of fact, to let them quote it, if I remember right. And you told me, you said you're wasting your time, and you were right. But
Yeah, I
you
know.
were giving me back you were basically
Well, I
saying
think at
here.
the time, in that particular situation, we were what they would call a select agent with Motorist, and
Okay.
they weren't. And so we were allowed to give you that, we could ask for that discount. I will tell you, there's, in the marketplace today, that doesn't happen anymore.
Okay, well, let me ask you this. With the health insurance, we're paying what Anthem said, here's the cost, and you add $8 per employee per month. That's your commission, is the $8 per month. How is your commission, how do you make money on our fire policy and wind policy and
We make-
reliability?
We make, and actually Colin and I have talked about that. We get paid a commission on your premium, and probably,
We've talked about, just here in the last 3 months, about not negotiating the commission from the carrier and just establishing some sort of fee with you guys that we think is a fair number, because the numbers bounce around from year to year. So if we're getting a percentage, our numbers bounce around. But if we can establish a fee that we feel is fair, that you guys think is fair, maybe on the lower side of that, so you're not getting the volatility of it, we think it's probably a better fit for both sides of the party. Is that well said or fair?
yeah, I think one of the things that our industry, your account is getting to the size that they're, on the package side of it, that often we do fees for, and we've never done that with you guys. And feel like it might keep it, this is how much we make to provide service for you. And going forward, you'll know that it'll be that number. And so that whatever the carrier cost, it's net of any, they won't pay us a commission.
And would we know that fee ahead of time? Would
Yes.
it be a percentage of the policy cost, or
No,
would it just be a,
flat
it'd be an
number.
administrative fee then?
Yeah, just a flat cost.
Well, and that's my question is, and I think Bill brings up a valid point, how do we know we're getting a good deal for the county if we automatically say, okay, we're gonna let insurance trustees take these 6 companies that are the 6 most likely to probably, and then leave the rest for the, it's an unfair playing field for, it'd be like if you wanted to compete, let's say you weren't already in, and you
Right.
said, wait a minute here, you're taking our best companies, we also write those companies, we'll do a fee, we'll do a lesser rate, we'll do whatever, here's our cost. And that's my problem with this whole scenario is, I don't think we're getting transparent quotes per se. In other words, well, if you lock up this company and the other company can't quote it, how can we expect to get a better deal?
Well, I think the thing, what you have, I guess it just comes down to you trust.
Oh, I'm not saying I don't trust you.
Right.
But we're talking dollars and cents here.
No, it
You know.
really is the trust of Todd. You know, one of the things that I think that comes from us, from our perspective, is that, you know, is our relationship with the carriers that we have in how we negotiate. And to your point, when we found a better opportunity for you, we moved carriers.
Right. And I appreciate that.
And you didn't ask us to do that.
Well, we had to, if I remember right, due to, in order to get covered on liability, we had to switch to Liberty Mutual for the Sunny Meadows.
No, I'm talking about your business, your personal.
Oh, okay, yeah, forget about me. I'm talking about
Yeah,
Captain.
so when
Yes, and I appreciated that.
you know, so
And
we
he
don't.
did do that. We were looking at increase.
You know, nobody really is, you know, even talking about the safety things, nobody's telling us we have to do that. We want to be proactive on your behalf. You know, so again, it goes back.
Yeah,
And that's the value of a partnership and a relationship with,
Right.
with a broker.
and we don't want to necessarily destroy that or damage that, but we owe it to taxpayers
Sure, I
to
understand
do
that.
what's, you know, what's best for them and what's best for the county in combination with who we go with. But anyway, we've run
So-
past time.
Do you want
We
to have,
may have to resume this
okay,
at another, I think we need to have some conversations with the other agent and go from there at this point.
okay.
And have you back in, and we'll go through this a little bit further. Okay?
Okay, sounds great.
Thanks, guys.
Yep.
Have a good day.
Lita, you are up.
This is the extension on a contract that I already have with Fiddler Technologies. They're the ones that was signed on quite a few years ago when e-recording started to happen. Katie did it, renewed it in 2019. Everything's going to stay the same, except the cost, of course. It's a 3-year life cycle. The amount stays, the amount that they're going to give us, it's locked in for the next 3 years. It was 27,800, now it's going to 29,470. We have 37 monthly Laredo subscribers at this point on average. That brings in, over the last 12 months, $49,400 in Laredo. And then Tapestry is the other online that they can pull up information from. And that's, we've taken in $29,900. So we're covering it. And this is not paid out of county general. This is paid out of the recorder's funds. Right now, we're currently at 140, they store for us our storage on records, and we're at 148 gigabytes now. Soon as we reach that 150, which we're doing that back indexing, so that's gonna push us closer Soon as we hit that or close to it, they'll let us know. We should hit it in the next 6 to 12 months. Then it's another $250 every quarter. But our records are secure. They're in Iowa, offline. So if things went down, we still have access. Our searchers and our subscribers still have immediate access. So Fiddler's been great to work with. They keep tabs on us. Any questions we have, I can't complain about their service. They've been great. So having said that, this is the renewal contract for the next 3 years, and it takes each of the commissioners to sign that.
Any questions?
And this is like most, what I call intertwined software that you don't dare switch because it's a nightmare. Kind of
There's
like,
only two, there's Fiddler and there's one other company, and the biggest percentage of Indiana is on Fiddler.
it's like we have QuickBooks at work, and
Yeah.
I hate them because they've raised their prices to the roof, but man, if I had to switch,
Switch
I
to
would,
something
I
else,
just
yeah.
shut the business down.
Yeah.
It's that big of a deal, so.
Yeah, this one, these guys are, I mean, they're Johnny on the spot. You call them, we call them anytime there's an issue and they have it fixed. So I can't complain whatsoever with them.
That's fine.
They're good.
Move to approve the renewal with Fiddler Technologies for the Recorder's Office.
I would second that.
A motion and a second. Are there any additional comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same. Motion carries. We all three sign.
Second page, Mike.
I have it on the,
Oh, okay.
I flipped them.
I didn't see him flip
Makes
it.
it easy for us. We don't know where to look. If it's not on the first page, we have no clue. Who's this go to?
You can give it to Lita, and if you want to just either have the
Once I get it
girls.
completed and Fiddler sent, I'll get you a copy of the completed once Fiddler signs it too.
Okay.
You know anyone that can record that?
No, it doesn't get recorded.
Thank you, Lita.
Have a good day. Joe, you are up. We'll step to the pedestal there. Okay.
Which side, what address?
Three 27.
Bill, if it's 327, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's the whole west side.
Yeah.
It's more of the west side.
Yeah.
Yeah, north it's divided by 69, basically.
No.
Your
Podium.
choice. I don't, do guys
I don't
care?
care as long as the mic is on.
Yeah, just the green dot. Just make sure you speak into it.
Put the mic up.
There you are.
And I need his,
That way.
Outstanding. Thank you very much.
Okay.
I made some notes.
okay, before you
Need your name
start,
and address, please.
name and address.
Okay, my name is Joe Novi, and I'm a lifetime resident, best part of 60 years, Garrett, Indiana. Need an address?
Yes, please.
That is 615 West Dennis.
West what?
West Dennis, like Dennis.
Dennis.
Dennis the Menace. Real close to the cemetery. Got it. A constant reminder of where I will be someday. Okay, I'll go through, I made some bullet points. State Road 327 and County Road 68 has become and always really has been a dangerous intersection. And however, I sense a new sense of urgency emerging. State Road 327 is part of an ever-growing corridor of development and traffic activity between the city of Garrett and of increasing expansion of traffic flow both north-south, 327, east-west, County Road 68. Of most concern is County Road 68 as an east-west connection between Lima and 427. State Road 205 is diagonal, as we know, and it's out of the way for a lot of people. DuPont can be very congested, and now Union Chapel is basically a main artery. These things, taking these things into account, scores of commuters use County Road 68 as a straight shot, Lima to 427. And here's how we're getting, some other comments. Housing and population growth continues to expand in the areas of Huntertown, the Union Chapel area, and all areas north, including Cedar Canyon area and Garrett as well. The growth on the north or on the south side there. A moment of the ongoing employment growth concerning the massive Parkview complex. A lot of those people are moving in this direction. Commuters southbound from DeKalb County use 327 daily, as well as Allen County residents heading northbound to commute to DeKalb County to the numerous manufacturing facilities and other businesses. It's my belief that the intersection deserves a bit of concern and attention, as that is given, for instance, to Cedar Canyon Road intersection in Allen County, principally meaning a blinking yellow north-south and a blinking red east-west light. Understanding that this takes discussion and money appropriations and procedures, something like this to happen. That is the purpose of my presentation. Cars blow through County Road 68 more oftentimes than you would like. And, there's a recipe for disaster. I don't know what the records are. The police, state police, county police could probably illuminate that. But at the very least, as if this is under consideration, if it is discussed, the northeast corner of the intersection, which would be 68 and 327, is full of small trees and rank vegetation. When you're heading south on Coldwater 327, whatever you call it, you can't see to your left. So, in a nutshell, as Fort Wayne moves this way, as Huntertown continues to grow, and as Garrett, little old Garrett, continues to grow south, this subject I felt was worthy of bringing before your attention. That's all I have, unless there's a question.
Questions?
Clarify, this is South DeKalb County. When you said
Yes,
north, and that's why I said Bill. Bill handles but you would also handle the west, I guess.
Yeah,
But here nor there. It's funny you mention this because I drove 68 the other day. And as I pulled up, I was heading east down 68, approaching 327.
Okay.
And there is a lot of distance
On that side?
visual on that side, the overgrown brush and stuff, I did notice. I didn't pay any attention whether or not a light would be needed. I was more focused. By the way, I pulled out of your driveway yesterday, and someone needs to cut down that weed that's growing on the bridge, because I about got hit by a car
How
there.
many times I've told her
Okay, all right. Anyway, I did see the limited sight distance you're talking about there, but I would need to look more into is there a traffic study we can do or something? Or has there been traffic studies on that area? Oh,
Well, it's
Ben, I didn't see you
Ben
there,
can
I'm
answer
sorry.
that. You want to come up, Ben?
There's a real process to get a signal installed
Yes.
anywhere.
Could you address some of that,
Particularly
Ben,
if
maybe?
that's a state road, that's controlled by NDOT anyway.
Well, what's that? Well, State Road 327's not.
No, it's not a state road, that's county road down there.
It's County
Oh,
Road.
that's County Road down there.
Changes to State Road once you
205.
pass.
That's right, I forgot about that.
Yeah, it's ours.
Yeah, okay, that is ours.
You know, the biggest problem I see with that intersection is driving behavior, honestly.
Is what?
Driver's behavior is what I've noticed so far. I mean, I sat down there for 20 minutes this morning. Now, all the cars that come down 68, I think probably only 2 of them come to a complete stop.
Yeah.
And you know, the problem with that is there is a little bit of a hill to the north that you don't really lose sight distance. Of course, I was in my truck. So if you pull up there and you don't stop, if it's in that A post or B post, it's going to cause an issue. Most of the crashes I see that's happened has been failure to yield right away. And most of them sound like they've been coming from Allen County going north. There was 3 in 21, there was 4 in 20. There was 2 in 19, 2 in 18, 1 in 17. You know, the most recent crashes we've had there was on April 2nd. There was a failure to yield right away, left right-hand turn. On February 7th, there was speed too fast for weather conditions, ran off the road. August 19th last year, there was failure to yield right away, head-on between 2 motor vehicles. You know, when I sat there this morning, there's a truck going and a guy on a motorcycle passed them right down through that intersection. You know, I really think if you want to, I mean, we can do a little bit with some extra signage out there. We already did increase the stop signs. We tried to do that on all of our rural roads that go up to a main road, because this unfortunately isn't that uncommon. When we got a rural road, it goes onto a high traveled road like that. These things are going to happen, unfortunately. But if you take like in this intersection, if you take the crash frequency, the crash rate, and the crash severity, it's very similar to a lot of other intersections we got in the county, coming up to State Road 8 or 427, 327. You know, it's very close in data. We did increase the stop sign on the east side to 36-inch. Cross traffic does not stop signs under that with reflective bars. You know, we could do on 327, we could do an intersection ahead sign with a posted advisory speed for that intersection. But I would really like to enforce some, or have some sporadic enforcement out there in that area, make law enforcement present, from just what I witnessed this morning out there for 20 minutes was. And there is a lot of traffic at that intersection. It's fairly busy.
That's a busy area.
Oh, yeah. Of course, a lot of areas are busy. More and more population, more and more cars. You know,
County's growing.
county's growing,
Fort
the
Wayne's
traffic's
coming.
growing. It's just an ongoing situation that we have all over the county. Do you think it would help to debrush that some, take some of that
You know, we're real close where we're at right now. I mean, as far as being in our right of way.
in the right of way?
Because there's
Anything
more right of
hanging?
way on 327. The thing we'll have to be careful is on the northeast corner, that's all the edge of somebody's yard there from Holiday Lakes. Them shrubs and bushes, and somebody's not gonna be real happy if we get real aggressive in there. Looking to the south, there's plenty of sight distance.
Yes.
You know, and then you got the other side, you got a house there. You know, there's sight distance there. The biggest thing is you've got to pull up and you have to stop, you have to look.
Yeah.
And that, like I said, I sat out there this morning, guys, I should have counted it, there's a lot of them. I mean, they're rolling up, they're slowing down, but they're not stopping.
They know the stop's there, and that's the problem with putting up a flashing light. They probably ignore that about as much as they do the stop sign.
It's, you know, and it's funny Ben mentions that because I've noticed lately, and maybe it's just me getting older and, you know, but I notice that most people race to the stop sign to beat you there so they can take off before you, but they never come to a complete stop, plus they blow past the white line and the stop sign. It's the first person to the white line at a full stop gets to go. But they want to beat you there. See, look, I stopped before you after they get past the line, and that's part of the problem. Being Fort Wayne, getting busier, they're going to work, they just blow through things.
Yeah.
I think I'm with Ben, it's more of I think this is more of an enforcement issue than a signage issue at this point, is people need to get some big tickets.
We monitor a lot of our intersections, sir, and we also contract with NERC, Northeast Regional Coordinating Council. They monitor a lot of the crashes and severity for us. And when they see an uptick in crashes or a current pattern that's something maybe we can remedy, they notify us of that. And this one hasn't been on the radar. I know there has been some crashes there, and ultimately that's what kind of brings the light to some of these. You know, there's, like I said, I think there's some short things, some easier things we can do to try to start. But I really think enforcement is going to be a big key on this one at this point.
I appreciate y'all listening to this presentation. You know, I think also maybe people are treating 327 Coldwater like they do Lima.
Yeah.
You know.
They're moving. I mean, it was this morning. I mean, I sat out there for a little while, and I always try to sit and observe and watch traffic behavior and see, because
Yeah.
you can see a lot with a little bit you sit there sometimes.
I would say not too many years down the road, you're gonna see Coldwater 327 be an added lane. It's growing that fast. But they say 500 houses are gonna be added just south of Huntertown or north of Huntertown. So, you know, those things kind of got me ticking. I said, well, I appreciate your time, fellas, and ma'am,
Thank you for
Thanks for
presenting.
coming in.
have a great day.
Have a good one.
And take the back road home, because it's crazy out here.
State Road 8 going out there is a mess right now, boy.
Oh, boy. It's funny, I get passed all the time on County Road 35. I'll be going 50, 55, which is plenty fast on that road.
Yeah.
Probably should be 45.
Yeah.
People blow by me at 75, 80 mile an hour, drinking their coffee. And I'm like,
You know, I'll tell you
Got
that,
somewhere to get.
I'm not throwing no stones anywhere, but I had Bruce Richmonds from Masterminds that does our passing lane studies for the county here a few years ago. He was working on a Saturday, and he called me at home. He says, my God, Ben, he said, your county's absolutely horrible. I said, what do you mean? He says, you got a real lax sheriff's department or something here, don't you? I said, what do you mean? He said, you've got a lot of aggressive drivers in this county.
we do.
He said, for everywhere I do these studies, he said, I think yours is the most aggressive county I've been in a long time.
No kidding.
Because he, you know, he'll do his study, he'll pull off the side, he'll log, and I said, I'm by no throwing stones, I'm just making a statement what he told me. And I see it on our roads, guys. Last week, we had a lady went around our road closed sign, come to a skidding stop behind the tanker in our distributor, that the road was blocked. Tanker sitting here and distributor beside of it, and the bar out and the hose hook between the two, and she still slid up and almost hit the back of that semi-tanker.
No, you can't fix stupid. I mean,
Yeah,
it
yeah.
is what it is.
Everybody's in a hurry.
Yeah.
Nobody's got any patience. And when they blow through these stop signs, it's one thing to do a slow roll and look twice one way and at least
Yeah.
once the other way. It's another thing when they go through there 10, 15 miles an hour. You
They
know
don't
they're not having a chance to look
Yeah.
effectively. And I don't know what we do about it. I mean, it's,
I mean, the police can't be everywhere. They just
no, they
can't.
can't.
You know, and I appreciate his concerns, you know, but we try to watch a lot of that. You know, and I pulled the aerials off on here too. I can pass you guys around if you want to look at them, but this was off our eagle view of that intersection. And, you know, the brush is growing a lot this year.
Yeah.
And what we debrushed last winter, my word.
I just thought it was a lot for, I just pulled up, thought, this little grown up on this corner.
It is.
It's that northeast corner.
I know
that's,
exactly what you're talking about. I
yeah.
looked at it this morning.
But it wasn't, if you, like you said though, if you stop properly at the white line and then look, you can see. But what people try to do is look as they're coming up to it, they don't fully stop and then they go out and they get whacked.
I noticed the skid marks on 327 is coming from Allen County going north.
Right.
Where there's plenty of distance.
Yeah, yeah, and there's great sight
So
distance
when
south.
when my crash report says right angle, so is that the 327, the right angle? You know, I don't know, it don't specify all of that. Here, it just tells you that.
Well,
But most of them are failure to yield all the way back to 2008. But, you know, I got some that says alcohol beverages, animal, driver asleep, driving too fast for weather conditions.
Random enforcement, I think you're correct, was,
But most of
would
them
go a
are
long
failure
way.
to yield.
So,
Yeah, they're gonna have to. I appreciate you having this all available for us this morning,
Yep,
making
that's
the
fine.
comments.
I got most of this morning. I didn't get noticed real early. I could work on it last week for this, but I got it this morning from Jerry from NERC, so. But yeah, it's fine. We got it. So,
Okay. That helps. That helps.
well, like I said, I went out there this morning too, 'cause I wanted to look at it. I was familiar with it, but I wanted more of a visual on it. You know, so.
Well, while you're here and sated, you might as well continue, Ben. What
All
you
right.
got today?
I got a few things. The first one is, we are working on, I'm working with USI, I've got organized here a little bit. Notice to bidders for Bridge 9. We've been back and forth getting the bid docs ready. I sent these to Jim at the end of last week. He got his response this morning, and I've already got that corrected for a better time specifying when bids will be opened here in Commissioners' courtroom. Right now, we're looking at, for Bridge 9, it's gonna go out to bid, be advertised August 26th and September 6th. Bids will be due at the auditor's office by 10 a.m., September 19th, and be open the same day and approximately 11 a.m. So just giving you guys a heads up and make sure you was okay with that to proceed. Get that
I think so. Yes,
They do to me.
19th,
19th.
10
Yep,
10 a.m.
yep. Then any ones after that, I can leave this with Susan. I'll get you more, because I gotta send me a set of plans to keep here. This has been back and forth this last week, trying to get everything ready.
I do have one question.
Yes,
If it says that we're gonna approximately open them at 11, does that mean we can? I'm only asking because if we're slow on the mornings,
it's,
I bring Ben in early.
well, they won't be here till 10, they have till 10, so if it's approximately, I'd say 10:30, 11:30, we would be fine, if Jim would think so. Well, that's good, because some people, they won't want to have an issue, so I don't disagree.
That's exactly right. All it takes is one
Yeah,
person to minute until 11.
it's done. Yeah.
So should we have them put in there approximately 10:30 instead of 11, so we have the ability, and if it's 11, then we gave prior notice?
I can change the time to 10:30 if that would fit everybody's schedule better, but
I mean, I don't know what I have that day, it's too far out, but
Let's stick with 11. Because Ben will be here. Otherwise, he's gonna shift his schedule.
he always shifts it when we're slow.
I try to be
Yeah, but this
accommodating.
is different. This is
What a
opening
good
bids.
guy.
I know, but if we put it in there, then they would have notice, but it's fine.
But then if we run over something else and we run into,
That never happens.
Next thing I have, I sent you guys an email last week, reference the Howard property for the County Road 56 parcel. I didn't know if you guys have a direction you'd like me to proceed with that, or if you're still considering that. I just need to know which direction.
in a nutshell, what did we offer and what did they demand?
Let's see here.
28,000 an acre or 31,000 an acre or something like that? I can't remember. Quickly and
Yeah, I'm trying to
Their offer was
read his email, what the,
$40,055, and they're asking for 75.
right.
their house is still livable on the land we're taking, right? They're not having to move, it's just,
We are gonna, the properties, I mean, the road's gonna be closer to the road, obviously, so that's what the setback damages are. And then he wanted to add on some, what do you call it? If I get it right here.
There's some landscape.
Escalation clause for his setback from year to year. So he had that in there. He feels the setback loss ought to be 33,373 for the dwelling.
how much is he losing? How much frontage? How much depth?
I know we're gonna be roughly, I think, 15 feet off the front of the sidewalk.
Total,
And what, I don't have the plans with me to scale that off. I'm trying to remember off the top of my head what he's losing. Wasn't that much, because he's close there now.
Yeah, he's really close. As is.
I'd have to get that, Todd, to give you a fair footage. But he's gonna lose some, yeah. I mean, the house is already impacted pretty decent by the road being so close.
but
people
the
it's gonna-
house was built before that road became a highly traveled road. This house was built, what, in the early 1900s, probably?
You know, the road's already, that home's already impacted by the road being so close.
Right. That's what I'm
You're
saying.
gonna have a gamble about how much dollar for dollars, people that's gonna be okay with that, it's already gonna live there and buy the home.
Right.
Regardless, we're a little bit closer to where it's at now, I think. But it's not gonna change, I mean, it's gonna change, but it's not gonna be huge. It's not like you're 1,500 feet off the road and all of a sudden we're coming up to you.
Well, and Bill and Mike, that was when I read this, I thought, man, I think we're being fair because I drove by the house and it's like, this thing's already devalued pretty heavily, in my opinion, just due to its current proximity
Right.
to the road. So I think that their estimates are very high for a house that already sits high to the road. I think we should stick to our guns. That's my opinion, but
I agree, based on,
now, if, like Ben said, if he was 200 foot off the road and we were redoing the road to go around the peat on solid, solid clay and said, hey, we're gonna go within 20 foot of your door now, I'd be saying, whoa, wait a minute.
Well, and we offered to remediate his
Right.
septic
Septic
system
system,
to
that's
the
$30,000.
$27,000.
yeah.
Now, maybe we just rescind that offer of the septic system. It's not really our responsibility.
Well-
But in good faith,
Yeah,
he's not, he's wanting $29,000.
I would give him one more chance to let us do the septic system and the offer and just say, the next offer, the septic system goes off and we'll let you deal with the health department on that one.
particularly since the appraisers reviewed it
Yeah.
afterwards, I think either that or, as I suggested, maybe just get a new appraisal and go from there. How long has it been since that was appraised?
It was,
And it could have changed then. Again,
Yeah.
I don't think it's changed that much. I would stick to our guns, guys. That's my position, but
I agree.
I'll listen to alternative thoughts. Bill, if you,
No, I think we stick with what we've offered.
okay.
Yeah,
Here's your direction.
yeah,
stick with the original offer.
yes.
I would just make it clear that
It could,
septic is a gift.
yeah,
Gift goes away if you don't accept it.
yeah, it could go away.
Proverbial gift horse.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
I mean, if
could go
someone
away.
offered to put a new septic in for me on my current septic that's dumping poop right into the creek, we gotta.
Doesn't it?
If you read Ron's email in here, he stated that when they done the field survey, that they found a tile on the other side of 56 that was a septic tile.
Yeah.
So in good
No
faith,
leach
knowing
bed,
that
it's
we're
going
gonna
right there.
impact
Gray,
that.
gray water's going across, dumping into the open ditch.
That's kind of,
Which is
that's
illegal.
almost blackish water there. It's, you
Yeah,
call it gray
it's-
water.
it's-
You wouldn't
yeah,
drink it, let's put it that way.
I wouldn't, I mean,
You ever seen Shawshank Redemption? That's what you're dealing with, so. Yeah.
Okay, well, I'll let Ron know that, and then,
And I want to be as fair as anyone when you're taking property. Trust me, I hate seasoned property, but let's be realistic. I think we're above and beyond our offer is
Yeah.
solid, so.
yeah.
well,
'cause
it never
he
hurts to
could-
ask, I guess.
I mean, 29,000 for a septic's a pretty, I mean, that's
Steep.
not, I mean, the drain's running off his property now, and even if we was to extend the drain back across, if we're gonna know it, and then he's gonna be forced to fix that on his own.
Yeah.
Take the septic out of it, so.
I would,
If
I
it
would
is in-
encourage them that, especially with the septic being a issue now, and we're talking sewer districts and everything else, it'd be good to have a nice new septic and be off the radar.
Well, he's real close to that new subdivision, Ron Garrett, he might be within 300 feet of that cemetery there.
Could be.
Could be.
We could help them with sewer costs too. That'd be the other thing, if septic, if not.
That'd probably hook him up.
Yeah, I'd be happy to help
Oh,
them.
that should cover the tap fee, I would think.
I think
yeah.
so.
If it's within 300, he'll be required to hook up.
What it is over there.
Yeah, if you don't have, if there's a city.
If he has a
main
failed
that-
septic, which pumping directly into the creek's a problem, or the ditch.
Well, it's
That would
probably,
be failed, but pretty sure.
okay, well, I'll let Ron know, and then I'll let you guys know what he tells me back.
Great.
What else you got, Ben?
I think that's all I have for you guys today.
Wow,
That's it?
I think so.
I'm disappointed. Don't have another failed bridge?
Oh, don't you jinx me. Yeah, we've got some issues that we found, but we're working on them.
All right,
So don't, get your crystal ball out and polish it.
okay.
Chip seal will hopefully be done tomorrow, so.
What will be done?
Chip seal hopefully will be done tomorrow.
Oh, okay,
Just heads up, so.
Oh,
Be done for the season, hopefully.
good.
Went pretty good.
what's the next?
Pipes
Pipes, that's right.
and Berman.
In Birmingham, same time. Yeah.
We'll try to, yeah. We got 7 big pipes going in. So we're gonna start those, Wednesday, Thursday. We were on those, and then hopefully next week. Then will take us a little bit of time. We'll get 'em.
Tim doing all those?
Yep, and then back on our Berman and, patching, and we've got a lot of drainage to get caught up on.
Mm-hmm.
We've been off of it all summer for chip sealing. So we got a lot of ditches to dip and tiles to replace, and,
Yeah.
Really?
oh, yeah. Yeah, there's ain't no lack in work to do.
We got a meeting, Waterloo Plan Commission tonight. You want to try to make that?
Again, if you'd like me to.
Yeah,
Time, 5?
5
5 o'clock?
o'clock,
You gonna be there?
probably.
I'll be there.
Okay.
You need me to bring anything particular? I think they should have most of our stuff.
They should have it all.
Who's
Where is
presenting it?
this
Is it?
meeting?
Waterloo at the,
Town hall.
the
town hall?
Yeah, the bank building,
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Is
I'm
Bauer,
gonna come cut my weed down on your way by.
Yeah, I'm gonna burn it down, throw a little gas on it, throw a flame on it. They'll take care of that.
Get a weed,
Go for
bring your weed burner.
Did we?
It's crazy.
Ben, go to her house, turn left out of her driveway. I about got hit by a car because I looked before the bush and after. There's this bush growing in the railing of a bridge, or a small structure, I think that is, on 35 by her house. I mean, this thing's 10 foot wide and 8 foot tall, and I about got hit. I felt bad.
I bet. And
Pulled
that
right in
li-
front
were
of the
you in the
car.
little Camaro?
Yeah,
Yeah, I've almost gotten hit in my Yukon.
yeah.
did you plant that there?
Or didn't, but I don't know how to get rid of it.
It's a.
I don't even know what it is.
It's a weed I've never seen. It's 5 pointy.
In the guardrail?
I think Susan planted it.
Sure.
Is Todd Bauer presenting that, or is Elevitis? You know? Who's presenting that tonight? Todd Bauer, or is Elevitis, or
I think Ryan is.
I think Ryan Grog is.
Ryan?
He's been pushing
Yeah, because
in
he
his
was
emails.
gathering all the stuff from Foresight together.
Right.
Okay, anything else?
Good.
All right. Well, while Ben is here, we'll keep you here,
All right.
Yeah.
and we'll talk a little bit about Boyd's Park. That's the plan
Yeah.
you suggested?
Yeah, if you're okay with that.
I think I'm fine with that, and we can have some conversation, gather some information, and I'm not sure we'll be ready to make any kind of a decision today, probably not. But we need to absorb information and get some opinions and comments from whoever really wants to comment. Jim?
Yeah, Bill, Greg Balsano is here from Baker Tilly. I don't know if you recognize that that's who it was. I knew Mike would
No, I
know.
didn't.
And you're in a position to talk about the financial end of it. What the risks are for the county and what is not really a risk. And Tim Ellerning is here representing the developer.
We also have a resident that lives out in that area that would like to speak also, so,
I didn't realize that's what you were here for. Sorry.
yeah. And I think we'll start with the gentleman from Baker Tilly. Give us some info and numbers and.
With the possibility of making a decision or not. And it's Exhibit D to that economic development.
If you need it, I'll give it back to you. How's that?
Probably copy number 7, but
Thank you, sir.
Oh, I think is that better?
Blue now?
It is blue.
Okay, we're good.
Yes. Okay. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
So
blue.
this is an economic development revenue bond, a developer purchase bond, meaning that the developer is purchasing the bond, and what they would do is they pay their property taxes, the community, all the investment within that development would pay their property taxes over time, over a time period to be determined, which I'll kind of get through what was determined. And those property taxes would then go back to the developer to kind of spur that development. So what's kind of being talked about here is an 18-year bond at a 74% pledge. So 18 years from the date of closing, which is supposed to be fall of 2022. And that means roughly 16 years of TIF payments from the estimated kind of completion dates of these various pieces of development. And 74% of those TIF revenues would go towards the bonds for an $18 million bond. So 24% of those payments, of the estimated TIF during those years would go to the redevelopment commission, and 74% would go towards to paying this bond basically back to the developer. So developers making their tax payments, the commercial investment, and making the tax payments, 74% is going back to the developer, 24% is staying with the redevelopment commission. There is no backup that is being set up that is from the county, the redevelopment commission. It is purely on the developer's TIF here, so the commercial development. So if for some reason in a year, in over the life of the bond, there wasn't enough TIF to cover those bond payments, those 18, I discussed $18 million. If there wasn't enough TIF to generate that $18 million, well, that the developer just wouldn't get paid. They purchased the bond, it's their bond, so they just wouldn't get their full $18 million reimbursed to them over time. The county does not have any sort of financial backing in this, so it in no way would come back to where the county would need to, put any sort of their money into it. It is a single TIF area that is being proposed that is just this development. So the only TIF from this development that is being discussed would be pledged towards the payment of these bonds. So if the development were to not happen or not to happen to the fullest extent that is estimated and illustrated here, that is really there's no risk to the county on that front, and a financial front with this bond. So I kind of just want to discuss how economic development revenue bonds worked before I kind of get into how this specifically is set up. So again, on page 2, it kind of discusses what the potential TIF could look like. You can see starting in taxes payable 2025, that's when the sports park development is estimated to maybe begin coming online. And you can see that a total potential TIF of about $700,000, meaning 74% is about $518,000, 26% $182,000. And then when the commercial developments, the other development pieces are coming online, that is a total of about 1.65 million there, and then 1.22 million is 74% of that, and 428,000 is the 26%. Again, I'm just kind of rounding off here, and these are just illustrative estimates, just based upon what is being proposed. Obviously, it's all subject to future assessment and what actually comes in, how the assessor assesses it. This is kind of just estimates at this time. So, again, based upon all the developments. So, page 3 kind of goes into, it's an $18 million bond, subtracting cost of issuance that'll kind of be paid up front, $17.7 million of net proceeds. And then page 4 discusses how the bond is structured. So as you can see, when those revenues start to come in, that's, that first year, that's a little over $500,000 of payments. And then it jumps up when those other developments start coming online of a little over $1.2 million. And over that 18-year period of total bond, or 16 years of TIF payments, generating approximately $18 million. And that's how a 74% pledge was determined, because it was determined that it was an $18 million was the incentive that was desired. So from the redevelopment commission, an $18 million. So that's how a 74% structure was come to. So this was how we came to that. And you can see on page 5, we've kind of shown, okay, so there is on the left-hand side, that 74% pledge, kind of allowing for some admin fees and things like that to run the TIF area, to manage it. And then the rest of that would go towards paying those bond payments there. So again, this is purely from their development. So you are pulling out those parcels from the current TIF allocation area. You'd be pulling those out, making it its own development, making it its own allocation area to get a new 25-year life from that. And then the redevelopment commission will be able to capture that 24%, and then also have the opportunity, if they so chose, to capture the remaining 7 years on the back end when that bond expired, if they so chose to. So again, that's kind of just the financial component. I'd be happy to answer anything in regards to that.
Greg?
I'd like to make clear.
Yes.
Number one, the TIF allocation carved out is only for the Sparks Park. Is, secondly, the only revenues going back to the developer are the ones that are based upon the assessments of improvements they're making. All of the existing real estate now, including part of the building that's up, or buildings that are up at the old auctions RM, those are existing. If there are improvements made, there's some amount that can be paid out in taxes to them. But everything that's in that TIF district that exists now is part of the base allocation, and the county will receive all of those taxes.
Yeah,
The second thing is, the pledge, the county, through the redevelopment commission, is getting 26%, which is, redevelopment commission made the decision to limit the total contribution to $18 million, okay? With payments over the $16 million over the period of time in 16 years, excuse me, that Greg talked about. What they're getting is taxes based upon what they've created on that site.
Yeah.
Okay? And when the bond is paid off, we're looking at 7 to 9 years of collecting 100% of that. And the redevelopment commission makes a decision to release it to the taxing units in that area or to hold it in case there's more development, especially on the west side of 69. You know, those are things that the redevelopment commission members have talked about. I think I hit the areas, and just to try and highlight what Greg said, and excuse me, but go ahead.
No, thank you. And to even add to Jim about that base allocation, you can see on page 2, there's a line for less base assessed value.
Right.
And that is what Jim is talking about. So right there, when this area gets created, that is it gets set at the current net assessed value of the properties within the allocation area. So, you know, whatever that will be as of pay 22, that was around that $4.5 million. That is what it sat at that time we looked at this. So that is what they would be, and that would stick with the overlapping unit assessed value for the overlapping unit. So that cannot be captured by the future development for the developer or for these commercial properties and such. So as Jim mentioned, so whatever the current assessed value is, gets reduced by.
Would it be accurate, Greg, to say that the underlying numbers that your analysis is based on are numbers that were furnished by the developer along with the timeline, and there's no independent analysis of the veracity of those numbers?
Yeah, I mean, we did rely on the developer providing costs and you know, what is the development, you know, that's expected to come in. Absolutely. Yeah, we did rely on that. We also did speak with the assessor's office a while back now on kind of what is the best way to potentially try to. I mean, there's no good way because it has to be in the ground. You have to look at it. You have to see it. So we tried our best, you know, to come up with it. But you're right in that we have to kind of rely on the developer to see, hey, what is expected to come? What are, you know, what are those costs? You know, things like that.
You want to mention the 90%?
Yeah, absolutely.
factor?
Thanks, Jim. Yeah, so for a lot of the developments you'll see there on page 2, we used a 90% of cost factor, so as an estimate. So we could have used a range of 60 to 90%, is kind of what we were advised to potentially estimate. Was kind of directed to go with the 90%. For some costs. Some other things we didn't use a percentage of cost. We were directed to go in kind of a different direction, or kind of used a different method. But yes, those project costs were provided kind of by the development team, and that's how we kind of came to that. So, yeah, yes, sir. Yeah.
But then they lowered that by the 10% he's talking about.
Right. Yeah, the costs we were provided. Right.
Ben, do we have the results of a requested traffic study out there with this development? We do not have that. Is it?
The deal is contingent on having a satisfactory traffic study. It just hasn't been received yet.
We've had a meeting on it, give them a scope of what we like to see. I have not gotten any of the results from that yet. And I have not heard where they're at.
Yes, come on up. You can grab a.
Hey, can I just ask a quick financial question first? Real quick.
Sure.
Government financing's new to me. It's sure kind of like pea under the shell. I'm gonna show me where the P is here. So a bond, the way I understood it is you would issue a bond, some entrepreneur would buy that bond, or a group of people, give the developer the money, say, here's your money, now you owe us, we're first in line because we own the bond. The way I understand it, the developer buys the bond, probably sets the coupon rate at 0. I don't see any reason to charge yourself any interest. But if they don't have the money to build, they don't even need the bond. I guess my point is they're going to probably discount this bond and sell it to someone, would be my guess. Since there's 0%, I would buy a discounted bond, right? Is that the idea?
I can't speak to what they would do with the bond, but I think, a lot of times when you do developer bonds, it's kind of if every approval were to go through and the bond were to close, they kind of have a promise of some sort of money stream that's going to come to them, some portion of their taxes. So in this case, it'd be 74% of their taxes are coming back to them over time.
Right.
They can then show their lenders, or if they're not using a lending, they can show their investors or whoever it is, hey, over the next X amount of years, we have a money stream on their, pro formas and things. This is what we have coming to us. So, how they utilize that is typically, like I said, they would go out and probably get a loan from somebody, and then they kind of use that as kind of collateral to say, we have this money source coming in that we can use to then pay you back. Again, Tim can probably speak on how they're utilizing this, but that's a lot of times how we see these developer purchase bonds work, working in communities around the state.
Good enough. Thank you.
Sure.
Yeah, good morning, Tim Ellerding, FCI Construction. To answer the question on the traffic impact study, the traffic counts have been completed. We had a few, I guess, snafus in the traffic counts, and that the cameras stopped working after a certain amount of time. I'm not sure, what the situation, but a company called Abamarsh is doing that. It's a civil engineering firm. They're doing the traffic counts. So they've got the traffic counts completed, and now they're working on the analysis portion of it. So we understand probably within 30 days or so that we'll have that portion of it completed. And then, we'll be getting, of course, with Ben and reviewing that and make sure we're addressing everything. But we're probably 30 days out yet, from that traffic count. And I know that was one of the requirements that Plan Commission established prior to any work being done. So yeah, we're working through that process, but it's moving forward. But we'll be looking at the intersections, just a little bit of background on that. The intersections, they're at 11A and 69, where the off and on ramps come. And then coming to the east here, and tell me if I'm saying this wrong, Ben, I just want to make sure. The entry point to the sports park, the County Road 23 intersection, and then we are looking at the County Road 11A 427 intersection. think I covered them all. Yeah. Those are the 1, 2, 3, 4 traffic points, 4 or 5, however you want to call it, the off and on ramps. But that's what we're looking at with the traffic impact study.
It was also to verify the traffic on 23.
Yes,
To the
yes,
back
and
of
that's
the
right.
line.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, some of the traffic on 23 that's going on, and then, what would be anticipated additional traffic on 23. But that's part of the projections based upon the assumed or anticipated development. Yeah.
I don't know if Dan Avery's reached out to you, but he indicated he would, Merck would be more than happy to help
They've been very,
analyze that once they get it.
Dan's been
get it
very
down to-
helpful in this process. Yeah.
Nerk's the one that's gathered most of the traffic data for him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay, good.
Yeah, Dan's been very helpful, in this whole process, as has Ben. So it's been a good process so far. But it's now on the engineer's table, going through the analysis on that.
Okay.
Do you, I assume they will be hiring personnel to direct traffic out there? The question is, who will fund that? Hiring the personnel to direct traffic? No.
I'm going to hand something out here real quick. I think it is GM email here.
Yeah.
So this is probably somewhat replicating what you've seen before. You've seen it, you've got it too. But one of the questions, or the question is, as far as hiring personnel, as far as traffic control, that's one of the things we'll have to take a look at, as if traffic control becomes a problem. I mean, typically in any situation, if it's a private development that has to have traffic control, whether it's, I've seen churches and what have you that hire, sheriff's deputies who are off the clock from the sheriff, maybe that's what they do, or maybe somebody else. But yeah, I could see where the development itself, if traffic becomes a problem, that something like that would have to be addressed. But we'll have to address that, as it comes. But we would, I can't think of hardly any private entity that's had the municipality or the county pay for traffic to have somebody standing out there directing traffic.
Yeah.
So and
That's
this
what
would be a
I
similar.
I want to make sure.
This would be a similar. I would anticipate that, and that's a great question. Joe is here from the development, so I don't know if I'm saying anything wrong, but I would anticipate if there are issues, that we would have to then, come up with a solution. Yeah, as far as at specific times or whatever it might be. Yeah.
I'm interested in seeing what we may be on the hook for as far as infrastructure goes from that traffic study too.
Yeah.
If you don't mind, Mr. McCulloch's been very patient and waiting for an opportunity to speak. I'd like to hear
Okay.
from
Am I going to
Mark.
get a chance then to speak after that then?
That's,
Yes.
Okay, because I'd like to give you a little presentation then of that some of you have not heard on what's going to be going on there. So yeah, that'd be great. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
I want the blue light.
Yep.
With the blue light.
I guess, blue.
Yes.
Thank you.
It ought to be green or red, shouldn't it? That
Well, this one's blue, but thank you. I have an appointment with my daughter here pretty soon, so as luck turned out, I'm up. But my name's Mark McCullough. I live at 5345 County Road 23, and I'm mainly addressing the TIF incentive. This has been a big discussion, ever increasing as times went on. And so I've prepared a short presentation in Word of just the things that I've seen. Now, I'm pretty sure all this is factual, could be close. I've got this off of everybody else's information through presentations that have already taken place or meetings that have been officially brought about. So one of them I'd like to start with a letter in the opinion editorial. A letter to the editor was forwarded about the issues with the TIF arrangement. Gentleman by the name of, and I might not have his name correct, but Steve Garbaz. He is with the paper, evidently replied to that letter in the editorial area of the Evening Star. His writing is titled The Spirit of TIF. It is on 7/12/2022. In this letter, he seems to know a lot about TIF arrangements and cited a wealth of information. But in the end, After reading, he really made the case for not doing this TIF incentive for the sports park, in that he expressed communities are supposed to do the if not for test, asking themselves, is this property likely to develop only if we intervene with TIF incentives? If the answer is yes, a TIF seems to be a great way to go. If the answer is no, the property is prime and ready to go, prime property, then when you assign a TIF district on those, you're just robbing the tax base, and this is not in the spirit of the TIF arrangement. I would like to point out, I do not think he understands, this is very important to me, I don't think Mr. Garbaz understood that they are wanting their majority of the TIF revenue to fund their personal business projects, not infrastructure around the property. Yet his reply does suggest, even without that in the mix, that this TIF arrangement is not a good use of TIF incentives. More so, the financing of this project has always been in question. Sitting in several meetings as I have yet to hear they have secured even a portion of the monies needed to complete this project. That comes to millions of dollars of missing funding, which may or may not have dried up currently with the current economic status of the country. There is the fact that the owners will only have approximately $1 million in equity invested in a $65 million project. This is worrisome. A lot to place at the city and county's feet with little more than a promise. Plus, in essence, we, the county, are financing their personal and private business project. That doesn't sound like good business. The only reason the TIF is being considered for this business venture is because it's shaky at best. There have been one major issue after another. This property is a prime location that would interest many who do have the funding to make this property a viable reality. You're betting our futures that this works out. The one down in Westfield didn't, by all accounts. They are twice the size with major teams leasing and still have major issues making ends meet. Another item of point, even with what Westville has going on down there, it took 15 years for the first hotel to locate there. So you might ask yourself, is this even a good idea to extend this TIF arrangement to this project? It would tie up major funding for another 25 years while possibly sticking the city or county with a huge infrastructure bill for their perceived needs. The possible changes to County Road 23, I have figured that might possibly reach $10 million for infrastructure changes that would need to take place for the entrance and exit onto 23. There's a bridge in there which is going to take quite a bit of that, Garrett Ditch. In addition to several other projects that are planned for that area. This all while we are already provided the infrastructure for a world-class property in the past that's already there. That's all I have to say. And again, if you want the dates for any of this, I can repeat that. The editorial page.
Oh, no, I think we're good.
Just read that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank
Any
you.
questions?
Questions for Mr. McCall?
Appreciate it, Mark.
Thanks for
Okay,
coming
thank
in,
you.
Mark.
Thank you, Mark. Appreciate your patience.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, what I've given you is sort of a summary of what is going to be going on with the DeKalb Sports Park project. And, thank you, Mr. McCullough. We've actually met with him multiple times, both in private meetings with the private citizens out there at the sports park, as well as plan commission meetings and what have you. So we've listened to the local landowners several times. And what we are trying to do is implement as many things as possible to mitigate any type of situations that might take place with those landowners. So thank you for that. He's expressed his concerns regarding traffic situations regarding his house multiple times, and we're trying to do what we can to mitigate that. But as you see here, is what I've given you here. What we are proposing to do is use the TIF revenues for infrastructure. Infrastructure only. Infrastructure including streets, utilities, lighting, stormwater, grading, parking, and traffic control. That's what we need to use this $18 million for. It is a total of a $64 million investment that is going to be taking place by the Auburn Sports Park team. And part of those teams are investors. So yes, the Auburn Sports Park or the Auburn Sports Group is investing $64 million in this project, and part of that is investors, okay? So the TIF is a portion of that $64 million. The TIF is $18 million of that $64 million. And that's an important part of this program. And yes, the gentleman very clearly stated, the TIF law makes it very clear that, will this take place without the TIF? I'm going to tell you what, this TIF is an extremely important part in the development of this project, extremely important. And that's why it is necessary to make this a success, plus also making sure that this money is used for infrastructure only. So now, once this project starts moving, what are going to be some of the benefits of the county? And I want to go through some of those for you, and I've got those in front of you. First off, over $129 million of new investment in the Auburn Sports Park property only. All right, and as Jim said, that is going to be its own TIF district. But $129 million at least of new investments in that sports park only. And that is changing on a somewhat of a regular basis because we are getting calls on a regular basis of new developers wanting to do things as part of the sports park. Now, this doesn't even include, property such as the 20 acres directly east of the sports park that was recently purchased by a local businessman in anticipation of the increased values that's going to take place because of the Auburn Sports Park. But in that property only, $129 million at least of new development. And then the new property taxes that Greg spoke about, $182,000 of new tax revenues starting approximately in 2025 on an annual basis, growing within a couple years to $428,000 annually. And then once the TIF district, or once the 18-year time frame is complete, that's going to balloon to up to $1.6 million of new revenues for DeKalb County because of what is going to take place in the Auburn Sports Park property only. And then other benefits, over 300 new jobs that are going to generate between $50,000 and $100,000 for the county coffers through your CAGIT funds. That's real money that's going to be coming to the county on a regular basis. 1,000 new hotel rooms that are going to be filled every weekend here in DeKalb County. That's going to generate over $400,000 of tax revenues for the hotel tax that you have. That's money that doesn't go to Auburn Sports Group. That's money that goes to DeKalb County and making DeKalb County a better place. There's restaurants and shops and stores that are not associated with the Auburn Sports Group that's going to be experiencing this huge influx of new revenues, not previously realized because, currently there's no development there once the Auburn Sports Park takes place. Over 31,000 new athletes annually coming to visit DeKalb County. Over 100,000 new visitors coming to visit DeKalb County, and we anticipate that'll bring somewhere around $15 million of new outside money that'll be brought to the county because of the Auburn Sports Park. Non-sporting events being brought in on a regular basis, DeKalb being exposed to a wide array of new corporate and private citizens, and DeKalb County becoming the centerpiece for youth sports. And so we're asking, and there is, the other thing is there's absolutely no financial risk. Greg stated that, we've stated that multiple times, Jim has stated that there's no financial risk to DeKalb County on this. You are not backing this with any kind of property taxes, you're not backing it with any kind of promises. It is strictly using that new money that's going to be generated by the investors in the Auburn Sports Park only to make this a reality. So the only risk to the county is zero. There is zero risk to the county. It's the new money that's going to be generated on this property by the development to end up helping us pay for the infrastructure necessary for this project. And infrastructure is going to be anything like right now, we've got to bring the sewer line down County Road 23 and get it over there to the south property lines. The water line is there, but there's going to be a lot of work, to complete the water lines. The electrical needs to be totally rebuilt. We've got streets, roads, parking, a whole wide array of other things that are going to be going on, but that's going to be all taken care of under the $18 million for the infrastructure using the TIF revenue. So I've given you all a copy of more or less of what I've stated, and I did also email that to you, at one point in time, but, I'd be happy to entertain any questions or. comments that you've got right now. Yeah, Jim?
Parking has always been a big issue with Westfield. Do you know approximately how many parking spaces they have with how many parking spaces Auburn Sports Group will have on a smaller scale?
That's a great question. We are going to be putting in 2,400 parking spaces as part of this project. That's about 1,000 more parking spaces than that are currently at the sports park. Let me restate that just to make sure. We are going to be putting in 2,400 parking spaces total at the Auburn Sports Park. That's 1,000 more than that are currently already located. We're going to have new parking up in the northeast corner, up in that area, and then there will be some parking up in the northwest. I don't want to say corner because it's not all the way to the corner, but if I may, I'm just going to grab here, show you. This is going to be a new parking lot up here in the northeast corner, and then this area here along the soccer fields is going to be new parking. We are going to be basically tearing out and starting over all the parking there. If you've been out in that asphalt, it's rougher and torn. So that'll be all torn out and reconstructed. This is the existing parking, and then that spot back behind it. This will be new, and this will be new here. So I don't know how many parking spots Westfield have. I've been to Westfield on Thursdays, where it's just a mess. I've not been to Westfield on Saturday. I've been there on Thursdays and Fridays. But
the parking situation is kind of irrelevant to the decision we have to make.
I think more like, how do we get the people in and out
In
of
and out
parking
of this parking
spaces?
place, that's what we need.
Is really the relevant thing, parking
And I'm going to
spaces.
request that the questions and the commissioners have the first go at the questions.
okay, sorry, I was asked. I'm sorry.
I have a question. I understand the idea TIF, the if not for thing, and I get that, because I read TIFs are a wonderful tool,
They
used
really are.
correctly, there's no doubt. I think this is a wonderful project if it's well capitalized. I have no problem with that. My problem is when we start to talk about infrastructure. For instance, when we redid the car lot parking lot, it was gravel, I converted it to asphalt. That's my private infrastructure. That has nothing to do with the city or the county. In other words, any drainage I had to do there, blacktop I had to do, bringing additional power for I want to make my shop bigger, whatever. If the county wants to bring better drainage to my property, I understand that. In other words, hey, we're going to do all this blacktop and we need this water to go away, so we need bigger culverts, we need bigger drainage, the county needs. I get that.
That's public infrastructure.
But I don't understand how you can call parking lots or drainage from the property currently as infrastructure, because that's improving your property, not improving, it's not, I don't see that as being infrastructure. I see that as being private property improvement.
Well, it's private infrastructure.
And that's a very good point, Todd. You know, I've been working with TIF districts for about 35 years now. Did some of the very first ones in the state of Indiana down in Tipton years ago. Most of the TIFs that I have done has taken it up to the building. That's always been sort of the line that was drawn by communities throughout the state of Indiana, is taking it up to the building. So not using TIF revenues to build the new industrial building, but taking your utilities, taking your stormwater, taking your parking and things like that. Anything outside that perimeter of that building has been extremely typical throughout the state of Indiana of how TIF revenues have been utilized. And the legislator, when they established the TIF district and the TIF legislation, actually purposely made it very flexible, that TIF revenues can be used for a lot of different things. I mean, I've seen them used for inside the building, and I personally don't agree with that. But in this case, I'm basically following what has taken place throughout the state of Indiana for years and years, is that it's everything supporting the development or the building itself. In this case, the building even includes those open baseball diamonds and things like that. Those aren't included. Putting turf in is not included in this $18 million. But what is included, and you've addressed that, is, the parking, for instance. All the public roads that are going to be going in, both to the south and on the north side. Whether they become public or not, that'll be a discussion with whether it's the county or the city, but I should probably call them private at this point in time, unless the county and the city would want to take those over, like you do in a residential development and other commercial developments. I mean, those will go into county standards and county specs, and we can have that discussion down the road, but it would be funded by the project. So yes, what we have followed is what has been the common use of TIF, is taking everything up to the building. And so, yeah, infrastructure does include parking, things like that, the lighting, traffic control, what have you. So
Were you in on the, I'm sorry, and let me finish this thought.
Yeah,
and then-
that's fine.
Were you in on, when the TIF district where Home Depot sits and all that, were you in on any of that construction?
no, not this one out there. No.
Because that
Yeah.
one received zero TIF financing for even the roads that were built to
Right.
city standard.
DeKalb County has a very clear limitation on TIF. They typically don't use TIF in commercial development like that. Yeah.
Commercial development.
Like such as retail. Let me rephrase that. Retail
What's the
development.
difference between a sports park and a Home Depot?
Well, this is not a retail development. This is a development that's going to be transformational for the county.
No, it's gonna be retail. You're
Yeah.
putting in hotels, restaurants.
We're not putting those in.
Well, but that's part of the TIF.
Yeah,
Part of the TIF.
but those retail establishments are paying property taxes. What we're simply asking is that the development within the Auburn Sports Park be allowed to pay for itself. And part of that is allowing those new taxes that are going to be generated, that are only being generated because of the sports park,
Yeah, the
to
increment.
assist in the development of the sports park.
Okay. Just wanted to understand, okay.
You have a question,
Go ahead,
Mike?
Mike. I'm sorry.
Comment?
I talk a lot.
No, good questions, Todd. Yeah.
Go ahead. Oh. See, I talk too much and then everyone else
While
forgets.
you're thinking about it,
If I may address a couple, there's been a couple statements about Westfield both by this gentleman and then at your plan commission meeting here last week. Somebody made the comment that the first hotel didn't come in until 15 years after Westfield was open. Well, I find that interesting that Westfield opened their doors in 2014. So that hotel has not yet come yet.
Yeah.
The truth of the matter is that hotel was there by 2016. Right now, they fill 5 hotels every weekend with the traffic that's there at Westfield, along with over 20 other hotels that are in the area. So there's a lot of things going on in Westfield that are applicable to this, but it's also a totally different situation. But Westfield's a very successful sports park down there that generates over $2.5 million of profits every year with what they do. So now the city is looking to, transfer that ownership to a private entity because the city has decided we no longer want to run a sports park. And I agree. I think that is outside of the scope of a municipality, but that is an extremely successful sports park down there. And probably proof of the matter is that 16 organizations have submitted proposals to buy that property. One offer they received was over $200 million, for that property, and they turned it down and went through the RFP process instead. So
That was a mistake.
yeah, it really was. Yeah.
I guess we need to run for commissioners down there.
But
Yeah, I spent about 45 minutes on the phone with the Westfield folks. But anyway, what the heck was I going to ask?
I don't know.
yeah, it's been a great process going through redevelopment. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I was trying to give you time to.
So thanks, I appreciate that. So you're talking about 1,000 hotel rooms
Yes.
additional.
Well, go ahead. Yeah.
Well, it says 1,000 additional hotel rooms.
Okay.
So I had been questioned about what about the existing hotels that are already here? Are we just transferring hotel taxes from one to the other, or?
I probably needed to clarify that. Okay, first off, we have letters of intent from 4 hotels that are Marriott chain hotels right now. Okay, so that's 4. 2 will go to the south, 2 will go on the north side. But if you do your math, a typical hotel has 100, 125 rooms. That's not 1,000. That new hotel rooms probably should have been 1,000 hotel rooms filled every weekend. Because many of those, and thank you for that, Mike, I appreciate that. But that is including the existing hotel rooms that currently stay empty on weekends. If you talk to any hoteler, it's really a very interesting conversation to have, and it's something I learned about a year ago when talking to the gentleman that's looking to build out here. He goes, during the weekday, I have no problem filling my hotel. It's full of business people. It's the weekends that I struggle with. So when I say new hotel rooms, that doesn't mean there's going to be 1,000 new hotel rooms built. Thank you for clearing that. There'll be what would that be? 400 to 500 new hotel rooms, but then between here, primarily here, but quite honestly, I would see then there would be spill-off benefits to the DuPont Road, which is outside of this county, but,
Do you anticipate requiring the participating athletes to stay at one of your hotels?
yes, they will go through, when you register for an event, and this is typical throughout, Westfield does it, I mean, this is typical in the, if you've ever done these things, you have to do that, is you actually register through the website, and then you are directed to partner hotels. And so I know there's already been conversations with a few of the developers who have hotels here in Auburn, or Greater Auburn, I should say, about that, and they seem open. And then, because of that registration, what is it, a $10 finder's fee, for lack of a better term, I don't know what else to call it, goes to the sports park. And that is one of the income sources to sustain this sports park. There's when we look at the business model, there are multiple income sources that make a sports park like this a reality. And one of those income sources is that $10 fee that goes to the sports park every time one is reserved through that website. But yes, that would be a requirement. But that's typical.
I always wondered why they told me where I was going to stay when I took my kids on hockey trips.
Yep.
We're staying here.
That's
$10.
And that's why they get, well,
Little
it's,
kickback.
it actually
just
makes
give
a lot
them
of
the $10 and stay at the embassy suite, but okay.
You have that option, quite
Yeah, I
honestly.
know, I'm just kidding.
But it is a wonderful way for the benefits generated by the sports park to help support the sports park then.
Sure.
But that hotel does still pays their hotel taxes, pays their tourism tax and whatever like that, which is the additional revenues for the county. But great question, great question.
If the traffic study dictates that we need to put a or a roundabout in at 11A and 427, and also maybe I call them dog bone interchange, like out on 69,
The
like
star
down
one,
at-
yeah.
Yeah, that reverse.
If it dictates they need to do that, will that $18 million cover that?
It's not in the budget right at this point in time, but I think the sports park would be willing to talk about their fair share. If they're generating 25% of the traffic, I think the sports park would be more than willing to, participate at that level. I don't think it would be fair, and neither would I even think you would ask for something like the sports park to fund 100% of a project that they don't have 100% of the traffic, causing the issue. But I think that would be definitely worthy of a discussion, because the sports park wants to be a good community member. Some of the things that's being discussed as far as how to interact with the community, whether it's other organizations here in town or what have you, it's pretty exciting stuff, that's being talked about. One of those things would be, if traffic control indicates that there are issues at 427 and 11A or whatever it is, the sports park I'm sure is going to be more than happy to support it, at a level that they contribute to. If 25% of or 50% of the increase is due to their traffic, I think they're willing to look at those type of conversations. But it's not in the budget right now, and we don't anticipate that taking place in the next few years anyway. A lot of times what you have to do is you have to look at what's going on with your traffic and then make improvements based upon that traffic. But we don't see, what we don't anticipate is this traffic study. I need to be careful how I say this. We don't anticipate the traffic study being probably that dramatic. But if a portion of the traffic is due to the sports park, I think the sports park is willing to have that conversation to pay for their fair share.
How many turf fields are you?
I'm sorry?
How many turf fields are
Turf
you?
fields. There will be 8 baseball fields 8 turf baseball, when I say turf, artificial turf,
right.
baseball fields. These 3 soccer fields right here are gonna be artificial turf, and then this will be a grass, and we are having, Fort Wayne Soccer Club is asking us maybe to consider a second grass.
And then I assume you would consider the drainage underneath
Oh,
those turf
every
fields
one of them,
as part of the infrastructure that we're talking about
No,
here.
actually, no, that's part of the turf construction. That's a great question, Mike. What you do on these is basically, we bring it up to grade, and then there's gonna be 10 inches of stone, it's gonna have under, it's not 53s, be something a little, less fines than 53s. And then there's actually subsurface drainage, and then sitting on top of that stone is then your turf field.
Yeah.
And then that all comes to a central collection point, whether it's one point, this is where I'd have to talk to the engineers, and whether it's one point and then we take it, or wherever it might be. Maybe 2 outlets per field, that part. I know it's on the plans, but no. The subsurface.
So that's not part of this 18?
That's part of your turf
Okay, all
construction.
right, okay.
Yeah. Great question.
That drains to the north, as I recall, a drainage board meeting on that, a drains to the north into a low area to be absorbed.
Okay, this is probably the best picture here. If you see this here, these blue spots, those are our primary retention areas. Retention, yeah,
Right.
because there will be water there. We've actually met with the airport authority on this already, because they expressed concerns whether we were going to increase the surface area of it. We're actually going to lower, with the design, we're actually going to lower the surface area of that. It will be surrounded by riprap, because things like that. But no, all your drainage is going to be either directed here or here. There's a wetland up here.
Yeah.
Designated wetland. If there is some natural overland floor that goes there, that's going to stay there, but that wetland is off limits. We've already gone through the delineation. I'm having conversations with Corps of Engineers right now on all their mitigation and what have you. But yeah, there's a big old wetland there that's staying. Yeah. We thought, okay, we can put doing something. I don't know. I mean, you got to try to figure something out with that property, but it'll stay a wetland. Whether we make it a pretty, looking area or something. But yeah, drainage is a big consideration. We've had numerous meetings with Mike downstairs, talking through this as part of this whole process. Yeah, there's a lot of great conversations with a lot of great, people that's been with the city and the county have been great to work with. They've been very, very helpful in a lot of different ways.
Okay.
I noticed, and just one last question,
please.
because we're coming up on break, but I noticed your business plan still includes $7 million.
Yeah, that
ask
should
from-
change.
From the city.
That should come out. That should be transferred into privately funded through the TIF. Yeah. I was looking at that this morning, and the thing about the business plan, it is changing on a fairly, as any business plan, if you're
yeah.
familiar.
Yeah, of course.
Reality makes you change it on a pretty regular basis, whether it's small tweaks in the numbers or adding new development or whatever. Yeah, we've had several conversations last couple of weeks that, need to be ultimately integrated into, but yeah, that $7 million is part of the infrastructure cost.
Okay.
Yeah. Good.
Might be helpful if you maybe did a quick update on some of the
Yeah. The numbers like that.
main numbers that we might want to look at
Yeah.
as we're considering things.
Yeah. But I know the redevelopment commission requested that. When they requested it, that was the situation. At the time they requested that back in January, March, April,
Anything else
May.
quick?
I've had my questions answered. I appreciate it.
Yeah, appreciate your time. Thank
Sure
you.
we'll have, I'm
Thank you
sure
for
we'll have
coming.
some more.
Yeah, we'll probably be back here again
Oh.
at some point.
Well,
Yeah.
And,
And if you have any questions, please don't hesitate. This is just, I know I've said it, but this is extremely exciting for DeKalb County. I mean, the benefits that DeKalb County will see when this thing is up and running is going to be, something you've not experienced before. When I look at, Westfield and see that they've had over $15 billion of new, I want to make sure I'm saying $17 billion of new development just because of the sports park around that area. it just seems pretty exciting stuff to me. So we all know that's a prime piece of real estate. The foresight of this development team is pretty impressive to be able to identify that as a sports park. The contacts that have been made and the calls that have been made of people wanting to bring their tournaments and organizations here have been nothing but impressive. I've learned a lot, more about youth sports than I ever learned hauling my kids around, to basketball tournaments back in the day. So this is going to be great for all DeKalb County, so I appreciate your time.
Okay, thank you, Tim.
Thanks, Tim.
All right. Let's clean this up, wrap it up. Anybody have anything else?
My notes go to somebody else first.
Todd, Mike?
No, good initial discussion. I think we got a lot of territory to cover yet.
Susan? Jim?
About a year ago, sometime in 2021, talked about the solar panels. We talked about solar panels, and I put together, with input from others, the most important thing I thought was a decommissioning agreement. Okay, the requirements of the decommissioning. And we had 5-year requirements, if you recall what was in there. Every 5 years, we had to look at it again to see if the numbers on the bonding was appropriate and stuff. I still have that. And I would like to be able to send it to each of you, not right now, but this week. I'd like to be able to send it to you to take a look at and then compare it to what we got from the LASA or something like that. It's the BP,
Maybe a light source.
yeah. Because you're going to need to make a decision, but I think they're going to be pushing for not having it review every 5 years. And it's your decision, it's not mine. And I'd like you to take a look at it in the next week. And that's all I had.
Okay.
I got to
I'm going to end up picking Mr. Bolzano's brain on those EDAs for solar. Baker Tilly has done a number of those.
Jason Semler, Matt Eckerly, myself work on a number of solar and wind projects throughout the state of Indiana, analyzing economic development agreements, economic development payments, tax abatements if those were involved with the project, looking at the tax payments that are estimated. We also have a team within our firm that can look at the other economic impacts that are outside of the tax realm. So if you guys ever have any questions about that or would like someone to take a look at that, feel free to reach out. Happy to do that.
Thanks, Greg.
Yeah, absolutely.
Appreciate
Thank you.
Okay.
Appreciate your expertise.
Anything else?
Good.
Then we are adjourned.
Must
Thank
be
you,
lunchtime.
everyone.
Must be lunchtime.
It's lunchtime. Time to eat. Feed the troops.
Hey, have a good one.
45 minutes of sitting.
I got a dumb,
Hard on
I
an
know.
old man.
I got a dumb question. I got a dumb, quick question.
Uh-huh. Yeah, turn us off.
Fine.